Every president basically has to fill in like 5,000 positions in the government. He didn't have any contacts in Washington, D.C. He wasn't in the political world. So what happened? He had to rely heavily upon the very swamp creatures that he competed against because he didn't have the infrastructure, the knowledge, or the wherewithal to be able to appoint people into positions of power. So when Trump came around the second time on this administration, he learned from his mistakes. What did he do? He hired and appointed people that were loyal to him. People were very critical, but Trump looks at it like, I'd rather put people in that might not be qualified on paper that are gonna be loyal to me and let me get my shit done. Why do you guys think Trump was able to sign like 40 fucking executive orders in the first couple of days of him being in? Look, man, let's just be honest here. Kristi, Noem, and Pam Bondi, right, got appointed by the president for the face card, right? They're not really competent. Both of them have, said and done embarrassing things. Pam Bondi is completely fucked up. The Epstein files. She's on Fox News talking about the files are on my desk like an idiot, right? Kristi Noem doesn't know the definition of words. Here's Kristi Noem in action.
Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right.
Bruh.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
Habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason.
And the reason why they're bringing this up is because basically the Democrats and the libs and the progressives and the whatever the fuck they want to call themselves nowadays, it's like they got different names every single day. They're making the argument that ICE is violating habeas corpus by arresting individuals and, dudes show up in masks and arrest you and everything else like that. And they're saying it's violating habeas corpus, which basically you have a right to know and be brought in front of a judge and be alerted as to what you're being arrested for, what you're being detained for. That's what it is, right? But the fact that Kristi Noem couldn't define this as the Secretary of Homeland Security, very fucking bad look, bro. Especially when the Dems and the lefties are saying, yo, ICE is operating like Gestapo. They're coming in and kidnapping people in the night wearing masks and shit like that. So her not knowing the definition made things way fucking worse, bro. Let's rewind that.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus. What is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus. Excuse me. That's incorrect.
President.
Secretary of Homeland Security, by the way. This is the Secretary of Homeland Security, guys. The most powerful official that oversees immigration in the United States, FYI. Doesn't know what habeas corpus is.
Habeas corpus, excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
And for those of you that don't know, she's a former governor. I think she was the governor of South Dakota, if I'm not mistaken. So she's never been in a federal capacity. But again, she's a loyalist, so Trump put her in power, even though she's not necessarily as competent. Yeah, South Dakota. Yeah, hold on. She was the United States, yep, that's what she was. And she was the 33rd governor of South Dakota. Boom, yeah. I knew it was one of the Dakotas. And does South Dakota even border? No, I don't even think it borders a fucking Canada. Like, she has no idea about immigration or any of this stuff. I'm telling you guys, her and Pam Bondi, DEI hires, bro. DEI hires. And these women hold very powerful positions, by the way. She's the Attorney General of the United States, and she's the Secretary of Homeland Security. Very powerful positions. They pretty much control law enforcement, if we're going to be all the way honest. These two women control all the law enforcement in America, essentially. Damn near. At the federal level. The FBI, the biggest law enforcement agency, it's under the Department of Justice. Who's the Attorney General? Her. She oversees the FBI. Kash Patel works for her. Homeland Security Investigations, second biggest agency in the country. Law enforcement agency federally. Who are they under? Kristi Noem. So these two women oversee the largest law enforcement agencies in the country and many others. DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, HSI, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, Office of Field Operations, Border Patrol, Office of Air and Marine. Bureau of Prisons. Bro, these two control damn near every federal law enforcement agency and all the biggest ones. But she doesn't know what Habbeus Corpus is. That's wild, bro.
To decide if it should be suspended or not.
DEI hires, bro. Both of these bimbos. And I know some of you guys are saying, like, yo, how did these women get these positions? You guys got to understand that what Trump did was on his first. Okay. So for you guys to understand why he gave these women these positions, you got to understand the first term. So in Trump's first term, guys, in 2016, the first thing you guys need to understand is that Trump didn't think he was going to win. Okay, that's number one. He did not think he was going to win, right? So when he won, it was a pleasant surprise. But the problem with that is, like, he was like, oh shit, I won. Guys, every president basically has to fill in like 5,000 positions in the government, okay? He's not a politician. He's from New York, business guy, real estate guy, celebrity, okay? A lot of people forget that he was a TV star before being president of the United States with the show The Apprentice, which was wildly popular in the 2000s, right? And a real estate tycoon. So he didn't have any contacts in Washington, D.C. He wasn't in the political world. So what happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. He had to rely heavily upon the very swamp creatures that he competed against. He had to rely upon people like John Bolton and everything else getting put in his administration. He had to basically have these swamp creatures / deep state people come in because he didn't have the infrastructure, the knowledge, or the wherewithal to be able to appoint people into positions of power. So what ended up happening was the people that he competed against that didn't like him ended up becoming a part of his administration. And they railroaded a lot of the shit that he wanted to get done. So the first 2 years of the Trump presidency, he couldn't get anything done, chat. Okay? So by the time he did start getting things done, he's had to, get ready to leave. Now, on top of that, the 2020 election, we all know was stolen, right? Shit used to be banned for even saying that, but we know that shit's fucking stolen. So not only was he betrayed by his vice president, Mike Pence, who validated the votes and shit like that, in 2020 after he lost, he had people that weren't really loyal to him in the first administration that helped him get anything done. He fired a lot of these guys. So when Trump came around the second time on this administration, he learned from his mistakes. What did he do? He hired and appointed people that were loyal to him. Kash Patel, loyal to him. Pete Hegseth, loyal to him when he was on Fox. Always talked well about Trump. Kristi Noem supported all of his policies. Pam Bondi was one of his lawyers. Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general under Pam Bondi, was the defense attorney, I think, in the New York case with the Stormy Daniels hush money case. Right? Marco Rubio, they used to be enemies, but they kind of they're amicable now. JD Vance came in because JD Vance brought the Silicon Valley money. And the J Lobby, if you know what I'm saying. So JD Vance brought with him Peter Thiel, the PayPal Mafia, and the tech world, and they got behind Trump. Right? Because normally Silicon Valley almost always votes Democrat. All these dudes. And they got with him because they knew that Trump would go harder on Israel. Go harder on behalf of Israel. So This is what ended up where you have people like, people talk shit about Kash Patel being, not qualified. Kash Patel was a federal prosecutor before, and he's a lawyer. He's never been in law enforcement ever, right? Dan Bongino was former Secret Service, not FBI. Didn't do criminal investigation, did protection details. The mission of the FBI and Secret Service are vastly fucking different. Vastly, okay? So, obviously, when Trump made a lot of these appointments, right, people were very critical. Like, why the fuck are you appointing people like Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel? None of these people are qualified. But Trump looks at it like, I'd rather put people in that might not be qualified on paper that are going to be loyal to me and let me get my shit done. Why do you guys think Trump was able to sign like 40 fucking executive orders in the first couple of days of him being in? That's why a lot of these people got these positions. Though some might say that they're unqualified. Like all the Dems were saying, oh, all of his cabinet picks aren't qualified. Robert F. Kennedy, etc. That's another one. So Trump values loyalty over competency and experience because competence and experience didn't serve him well in his first administration.